Hello everybody, and this is my 40-gallon green Jade shrimp tank. And as you can see here, with all the other stuff I've had going on here lately, this tank has gotten a little bit out of control. We've got duckweed taking over. I'm thrilled that the pogo stemming that I recently got is doing real good, but it's getting to the point where it's doing too good in here. So we're going to trim all that up. We got this Ludwigia we're going to trim up and get back into shape. And then, of course, we've got moss and some algae in it. Not tons. Most of it's pretty clean. And then after we get the tank all situated, then we're going to go through and take a look at our shrimpy friends. Most of them look really, really good. The green Jades. And then we'll go through and do a really good go over all the shrimp really, really good. Call out any bad ones that we may come across. And we'll get this tank looking awesome. I know in a video not that long ago I said this tank was my favorite tank because it was on the cusp. It's right there at being overgrown but not overgrown yet. Well, here we are a month or two later, and we are definitely overgrown. So much duckweed. Oh, I hate that. So let's get this project started. So my first tip of this video is the first thing I think that you should do when you're dealing with duckweed is to get all the plants that are growing to the surface. And in this case, we have this pogo stemming, and we're going to cut it really low so that we get all the stuff growing up at the top. Let's see if I can get this on camera. Look how big this is. Wow. So after we get all the stuff touching the surface, that will make getting our duckweed out, because nothing will be at the surface with it. And I find that's where duckweed will collect and grow, because as long as it's moving around, it doesn't seem like it spreads or grows as fast. But if there's a plant growing up to the surface of the water and they can just sit there in one spot and not move, that's when I start noticing more problems with duckweed. Because I have tanks that have duckweed where there's no plants at the surface, and it's really easy to remove and just kind of move around. It doesn't take hold. But if you have a bunch of plants growing up at the surface like this, the duckweed can just sit there and chill. Especially like if you have one strip light going across your tank, and if the plants are going to want to grow up towards the light, and that's going to be the same spot where duckweed collects, because that's where the plants are growing up towards the light. So then that means your duckweed is going to multiply even faster because it's going to be stuck right underneath the light. So that's an observation I've made over the years of duckweed. All right, just trimming out that pogo stemming. and mainly getting rid of like 99% of the duckweed has made a huge difference. So now we're going to turn our attention towards the moss and the hair algae that's been growing in the moss and in the tank. So we're going to, first thing we'll do is going to pull out that algae by hand, and then we'll pull out the clean moss separately. So then we are sure that we don't have any shrimp. We're going to have a bucket of water for algae and a bucket of water for clean moss, and we have another bucket for the pogostemon we trimmed out. We're starting to get a lot of shrimp popping up in here. They're starting to make themselves seen. Look at all the nice dark green jades in here. All right, let's start the algae removal process. All right, we're a bit stirred up now, but we have all the moss taken out. We have it separated by moss riddled with algae and nice clean moss. So the reason why we took all this moss out was so that we can easily see the shrimp. So now the next thing we've got to do is we're going to trim this Ludwigia. Alrighty, we got that trimmed up. Look at all the shrimpies. So now it's algae wafer time. Time to start getting the shrimp. This is why we done what we done, because after all, we want to have a decent looking tank, but I'm here to breed shrimp. Good shrimp at that. So let's start getting the shrimp gathered up. Alrighty, looky what we got here. We got lots of beautiful dark green shrimp, and you can see the bad ones, light colored ones. There's some like brownish looking ones. I see a really one tucked in there, and some yellowish looking ones. This is really pretty good for green jades. Green jades are notoriously very difficult. And you see there's some of them, they lost their green. They're like I said, brown. So we're going to start picking these guys out. Tell you what, the more you do these, even the real hard ones like green jades, the better they will get with time. There's no substitute for just sticking with it over time. I've been a slave to calling these guys for years. Really happy with how they're looking. So let's start getting some bad ones out. And when I do this, it's always picking out the worst ones I see right off. So here's a really light one. And these are just going to go right in the Skittles tank. There we go. So now I'm just going to stick to doing this for probably the rest of the day. This is what it takes every 2, 3, 4 months or so. I'll come over here and do this to this tank. and get all the bad shrimp out. This is a pretty long process here. Let's see. There's a really looking one. That one. That's kind of cool. I have a plan. One of these days I'm going to make my own green relies. And I think that'll be a lot of fun. Alright, there's a light colored one. And here's a light one. There's a couple light ones. Ah, there's a good one in there. We don't want the good ones. Alright, I see some over here. So I'm going to spend the next few hours doing this, and I'll check back with you guys and show you my progress. Alright, I started this project in the morning and now it's getting dark out. Oh my gosh. I probably pulled out about 500 shrimp, I would guess. It looks like there was an enormous baby boom. Probably a couple of them, probably 2 and 3 months ago. Judging, there's so many shrimp about that size. Of course, there's no way I could be perfect, but now we've got all the overgrownness in check. And I'm going to put a little patch of moss right there in the middle of them rocks. And I'm probably going to do some trimming up of this. Of course, it's not much to look at now. It's all cloudy. Stirring everything up that was underneath all that moss. But you can see here, green jades, they needed to be gone over, that's for sure. But they always do. That's the nature of them. I'd say there's probably 2,000 to 3,000 shrimp in here, and I probably pulled out about 500. So I didn't do a reset, but it was a really, really good call. So I think these guys are looking pretty good. How I like them to look. I can't wait to see how the ones outside do. I put a whole bunch of really, really good ones. They're a notch or two above these outside. And I can't wait to see how those turn out. But these guys are super good. Super, super good. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.